Hello, this is Josh Weekly, and I'm here with a second of a series of videos to familiarize the staff of Wetzel County Schools with the new professional development tracking website known as Frontline Professional Development. Right now, you're looking at a splash page, what any user would likely see when they're logging into their Frontline. If you are struggling with how to log into Frontline, there is a video directed specifically at that task. And I would suggest watching that again. And if you still have problems, please reach out to me via email or telephone, and I'll be happy to help you. So this video will focus primarily on how professional development offerings can be placed within this system and the proper way to go about requesting these professional developments. If you recall, several years ago when we were using the previous system, we had a separate link to a Google form to request these items. That will no longer be necessary. And if you have any link like that on your desktop, I invite you to delete it, the ERO request form icon. So you can see on the screen in the upper left-hand corner, I am emulating one of our users that very well might in the future offer professional development activities for our county. Now, bear with me. There's a chance I might click on the wrong thing and have to look around a little bit during this video to find the proper place. This is a new system, and it's quite a large system, so I'm trying to do my best to familiarize myself with it as I am putting these things out to you. So, how do I request a professional development be offered in my location? If you'll look on the left here at this navigation page, you'll see an icon that says activities, and that's not what you want. Forms is what you want, and you'll notice at the top of that list that pops up there's one called activity proposal. Now the likelihood is anything you request me to put in the system is going to be put in the system. My goal is to try to keep some level of consistency amongst our course catalog and to make sure all the information necessary to create these is known. So once you click on Forms, Activity Proposal, it'll bring up this form here. So let's work our way down through this. I'll show you the specific things you should be aware of here, and we can make sure that things are filled out properly. First, it's pretty obvious, activity title. I'm going to call this one test video, or let's say, let's call this activity proposal video. You notice how the box was outlined in red. Those are necessary to be filled out. It won't allow you to submit the form without filling out those red boxed dialog boxes. Within description, you can place a description of this activity. So we will learn how to request professional development. Now, some other items that you might want to put in this description would be any materials that the participant would want to bring along. Maybe it's a notebook or a laptop or whatever it might be. One thing that I will request that you place in the description box is the amount to be paid, the stipend that this thing will be offered for, and the budget code associated with this. We want this to be in this box here, so it will show up on a form that I'll show you later how to print out that will be presented to payroll to ensure all the participants are paid properly for attending this activity. So I will ask you to put the budget code, and you know they're real long and I don't know what it actually is, so let's just pretend that this is it. and the stipend amount as well. I'm not sure what the going rate for an hour of professional development is right now in our county. I think it's 30. It might be 25. That's something that we'll need to get clarified from someone that decides those things. For now, that's really all that would need to be put in that description box. I invite you to be as granular as you like there. You can go as deep as you want on that description, but the big things I'd like to make sure are there: budget code and stipend amount. Maybe your activity title tells the whole story and you really don't need to put anything else in the description other than budget code and stipend amount. And if that's the case, so be it. Next box you'll see here is activity format. This is something that I can add to with time, so if you feel like there's a different format that should be listed in here, send me an email. I can make it so it'll appear in the future. But for the time being, just pick the one that you feel like meets this description the best. This is a field that will help create different reports later on if we want to see how many different offerings we did in each of these different formats. So whatever it might be, for this one I'm going to put independent study. Max enrollment. Now I think all of you have a decent idea of how many people would likely come to your professional developments. You can put whatever number you want in here, but you want to make sure that the number is great enough to accommodate everyone that might come in, and you don't want it to be so large that a sign-in sheet would be humongous, because this does determine how many lines are added in to the sign-in sheet that you would want to print out to present to participants to sign into the professional development. If you put 2,000 on there, it's going to be 2,000 lines for people to sign in, and maybe there's only going to be 10 people come. Like I said, though, you have a pretty good idea of how many people will likely come to your professional development, so whatever you think that number is, put it there. Now, I specifically asked Frontline to put these budget code and stipend amount fields within this form, and they did it. However, by doing it, what I did not anticipate is that these numbers did not translate in to a report that we would need to have to submit to payroll. So it'll be within this system, and we could look back and see what this stuff was. However, it might not be so easy to get a report printed out and sent to payroll if you only put the stipend amount and budget code here in these two fields. I invite you to put those pieces of information within the fields. However, it's mostly important that they get here in the description field. Instructors. Obviously, the person that is presenting the information at the professional development, those that might be responsible for taking roll, those that may be responsible for printing out a form to get to payroll. And you can select as many of these as you'd like. Since I'm logged in as Eric right now, I'm going to select Eric. And you can select other people within this list too. Like I said, maybe there's more than one person involved with this training, and you want more than one person to have access to the tools that come along with this professional development activity within our activity catalog. For this purpose, I'm going to select Ben as well, Mr. McPherson. Now, to select more than one in a list like this, you have to hold down the control key and then click. So, for instance, if I'm not holding down the control key and I select this person, you notice that all of the other ones come undone. But if I click on the one I want and then control key and then click on the next one, it will maintain this previous click. Maybe their name isn't in this list. I invite you to put it here. Once you've told me who should be in this list, they will be an option in the future. Number of meetings. Now this dates, time, and location section, you very well might be tempted to change this number of meetings to however many. Like for instance, I know in some schools they offer like a book study, and that book study meets every Wednesday, and they meet every Wednesday until the end of the school year. And so maybe you know that's going to be 12 dates. The thing about that is, though, once you click that, all of those times and things are associated with this one activity. It also means that if anybody would happen not to attend all of those meetings, it becomes an attendance problem. This is the kind of thing where, okay, you have to come to every meeting to be paid to attend. Maybe it's a 3-day workshop and you expect everyone to come all 3 days. That would be an instance where you could change that to 3, make the stipend reflect those 3 separate days. You know, if it's $150 a day, you would put $450 up there in the stipend amount, whatever it might be. I would suggest for most one-off things, you would leave that at 1. That way, if a participant comes to just one of those meetings, they can be paid for coming to that one meeting. If they come to one meeting and then skip a meeting and skip a meeting and then come to another one, that makes paying them difficult with this system. So as I repeat, most things would be 1. At which point you put the meeting date and you click on the little calendar icon here and you select what day that occurs on. I'm going to select today, and I'm going to select 11 o'clock. It's coming up in just a few minutes because I want to use the same activity to show you how to take roll and print off the reports. So 11 a.m. I'm going to put it till 12. Location. You can be very descriptive here. Maybe it's here at the tech center within the meeting room. Maybe you have a large school and you want to say it's in room, I don't know, 224. Maybe you don't need to say this. Maybe every single professional development that happens at your place is always in the same place and everybody knows it. You could just put the name of your school there, the name of your location. So we've filled in the date, time, and location, all necessary ingredients to letting our participants know where to go. And now you'll see this field here for associated event. You'll notice this drop-down menu has all of the locations within our county listed. And you would say those are locations, not events. However, the reason this was done this way is so when we have a robust activity catalog with things coming in from all locations within the county, our participants will be able to quickly sort out all of the things that are happening at a specific location quickly by looking at what one of these has been selected. So if I select this WC Tech location as the event, when a participant looks in the catalog, they can search by event, and then all of the things that have this in here will show up. Provider will most likely be Wetzel County School District in most instances. However, you see I have a couple others listed here, and I'm always happy to add to this list. The hours. How many hours will the participant be required to be at this professional development? Remember, the hours should associate back to how much the stipend amount is. Let's say this was a 2-hour. That stipend amount up there would be twice the hourly rate. I think that that's explanatory. If anybody has problems with that, we'll work on it when it comes. Now, the goals and objectives, these are the 2 strategic plan goals that have been set for the year. This will be something in place in the future for people that want to print out reports to know what professional development has been directed at one of these 2 goals. For these demos that I've been doing and experimenting with the system, I've been selecting this instructional leadership each time. You might select both, whatever applies to your activity. And then the purpose. Is this something that someone would be paid extra to attend? If so, it would be stipend eligible. Is this something that's happening during the regular workday that they would not be paid extra for? Obviously, we'd pick the other option here. Building restrictions. My suggestion to you all is not to leave a building restriction. The reason being is as soon as you click one of these buttons, that means that anybody in this system here on Frontline Professional Development that might have one of the different locations listed will not be able to find that professional development any longer. So for instance, maybe I last year was a custodian at Shortline School, but then I transferred to Valley High School. And in the meantime, me and my office here, I was not notified that that happened. We didn't make any changes to the actual location of that person. So now that person at Valley High School was told to go sign up for a training, and they look in the activity catalog and it's nowhere to be found. That's because they don't have the correct location listed for their user account. That also goes back to what we were talking about up above when it came to events. This is a nice way for our participants to know where the activity is being held. I suggest leaving these blank. That makes every one of our users be able to see every activity happening in the county. I don't think that someone from Payton City Elementary is going to show up at 100 High School for professional development unless they've been specifically asked to do that. So I would not restrict the activities to anyone. Comments. These are comments that can be left to the participants and to me. Maybe a comment like this activity will occur every Wednesday from February 1st through March 31st. If you leave that comment in there, I'll know that I should duplicate this so there is a session in our activity catalog for each one of the meetings you expect to have this activity take place. Remember up above when we were talking about not having that all put into the system with this dates, times, locations by changing this number here. If you know that this same thing is going to always happen at the same time on the same day of the week between this period and that period, you can leave that comment down here to me and I can make those for you. You don't have to submit this form over and over and over for each one of those sessions. You can also leave comments like, I'm not sure what the stipend amount is, or I don't know what the budget code is, but I'll find that and get back to you. If that's the case, you can leave all these kind of comments here. Once we've filled it all out, you hit submit. And after that's submitted, you'll see here that it's pending. All of these activity proposals come to me. That's in design, similar to the way our previous professional development tracking software went. The idea is not to gatekeep what professional development activities are happening in our county. The main goal here is to keep consistency with our records, make sure that things are properly filled out to maintain this record and make it work better for all of us. So now we're looking at my account. Eric just submitted that proposal, and it's my job to come in here and approve or disapprove those ones. The likelihood is it will never be disapproved. But you see this approved and or in process. This is one that I was working on earlier today because I wanted to see how the system worked. But I should be able to go in and let's see here, administration and pending approvals. This is something that I do. You don't have to worry about this, but I want to show you something within this that might be important to you. So there it is, activity proposal video. This is what I'm seeing. This brings up his screen, all the stuff that was entered in. I look down through it. If everything looks good, I come down here and I hit approve. If it doesn't look good, I'm going to put down here, you need to tell me the location or stipend code incorrect or whatever it might be, whatever missing piece of the puzzle that I need. I will put this here, at which point when you log into the system, you will see that this is still pending and I'm asking for more information. However, as it stands right now, this looks good to me. I think there is something that I need to You know what? It's on the next page here when I approve this. I come down here and I add it to the catalog. And then I had to make sure that I go down through here, and if there is something that you left in the comments, or there's something I needed more information and you gave it to me, I can add it in. Maybe you sent me an email and said, hey Josh, I just submitted this activity proposal and actually it's not going to be in this place, it's going to be in another place, or whatever it might be. Now this is the one that actually adds it to our catalog. There are some additional fields here that you wouldn't see. For instance, maybe this is going to be online, and maybe it's going to be held on Zoom. Remember those days. It could happen again, and if it is, we can add that link in, and then when somebody signs up for the training, they're going to see the link to go to Zoom or whatever it might be, Teams, any of the ones we have, Schoology, whatever it might be. This is also where I will put what day of the year it will start showing up in our book. I'm going to put today. And this is going to require me to put the actual whole year, so let me do that. And this stops showing on. I'll probably always put about a week later than when the activity concludes. So that'd be the 3rd. I'll just put it on the 4th, February 4th. That way, it gives a whole week for an administrator to say, hey, you didn't sign up for that training, and if you went to it, you might want to go in and sign into it. My goal is that the administrators, the people offering the trainings, aren't manually entering everyone that comes to the trainings, that instead you are empowering and requiring your staff to sign up for themselves. I'm looking down through here, process registrations on. Again, these are things that I just fill in. You don't have to worry about it. Form approval required, no. Maximum participants. Maybe you don't want to hold a training if there's not more than 5 people that want to do it. And if you did, that's what I would do. And by the time this thing starts, or I would put a time frame, if we don't meet this many participants, it cancels it automatically. But in my experience over the last 6 years, we've never done that. We always offer it. If nobody shows up, I think we just handle that without the computer's help. Registration fee, that's not really something we worry about. I think there have been a few things in the past that required a registration fee, like a college credit type course, whatever it might be. I go down, make sure everything's filled in. I make the person have to fill out an evaluation, something we can look at down the line and see if this was something that our participant valued. Also, within the activity, when it shows up in the book, once somebody enrolls in it, I can make there's a room like for a discussion board within this. I'll probably leave these at no most of the time because I think that we can use other means of communication other than this to discuss those things. But if you remember, down here on activity and owners, we select Eric and Ben before. This was when Eric was requesting this. I also have to dictate the owner of the event. A lot of times it'll be whoever it is requested me to make this. Sometimes it might be the administrator that is responsible for approving these things. So whether that be technology, secondary, special education, transportation, maintenance, whatever it is, I would put the person that requested it to me, supervisor's name, as the owner. Again, this is something that allows that person to get reports, make sure that the roster is correct, go back and print reports regarding it. All right, all looks good, so I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now to look. Let's see if it's in the activity catalog. The district catalog, it should be in there. Activity proposal video. Okay, there it shows up, and let's see what information we have. Okay, the budget code and the stipend amounts there. It tells the person what it's about, the date that it's taking place, tells who the instructors are there. You know, this looks good. I see that there's 25 open seats. I'm going to take one of them. All right, so I think that's a good place to conclude this video. because the next video I will show the trainers, administrators, how they will make sure that people have enrolled in their activities, make sure that attendance is properly maintained, and the final step of printing and submitting paperwork to payroll to ensure people are properly compensated for attending your activity. So stay tuned for the next video regarding those topics.